Hey, welcome to Kate's Crafts. I'm Kate. Today I would like to share with you how I made these two silly little cards using Lawn Fawn and Mama Elephant products. Let's get started. Here I've already stamped out the cow from Tiny Farm and the spaceship from Beam Me Up, and I'm going to put down a little bit of purple tape to cover some areas. So with the cow, I want to restamp that out so I can cut out the bottom half of the cow to create a mask, so I could put the little tractor beam over top of it, because the cow is going to be abducted by the alien today. So I'm just cutting off the bottom half to make sure that I don't cover up his feet or anything with the next stamp. And I'm going to use the little waving alien with the two antennae eyes. And I'm going to use the little ray of light that will come out the bottom of the spaceship. So once I have that lined up, I'll close the Misti door, and then I will ink this up, and I will do this twice. Once on this one, and then once on the one on the top. And I've got them cut out, so now I'm going in with a YG09, and that's I believe that's a lettuce green. And I'm just kind of creating a shadow around the bottom of the beam as if the cow was standing in a pasture of grass of some sort. And here I've got the YG06, and that's a yellowish green it looks like, and I'm just kind of creating a highlight. I'm only working with two colors for the grass, so I'll get a little more complicated with the other colors later, but I thought this would suffice, seeing as how it's just a small patch. So I thought I'd go back in a little bit more to darken up that YG6, and it turned out okay. I kind of went out of the lines a little bit. I was a little excited, so I'm pushing that in with the Zero colorless blender. And here I have a B63, which I believe is a light hydrangea, and a B60, which is a pale blue-gray. Now I don't have a color in between these, so I end up going tip to tip to kind of create the mid-tone for this, to kind of blend that out. I didn't want to go too light with, or too dark with this with the light beam, but I wanted to kind of give a depth of shadow with it, so I end up going back in with a little bit of the other B color to kind of darken out those areas, because I wasn't too pleased with how light it was and then how dark it was with the contrast. So I find that this method kind of works, and it'll do. Plus this will even out once it's dry. So I'm doing that again with the same on this. When I go into the alien ships, I switch it up a little bit just to see. But yeah, I thought this idea was kind of neat. As soon as I got the stamp set, I thought, oh, this would be absolutely great if an alien abducted a cow. What kind of card would that be? So I'm just going in with my black marker and touching up the black areas of the cow. I didn't bother to blend this out because it's such a small, tiny thing to try and color. And I've got a gel pen. I'm going to give the cow an excited look, like, oh my goodness, I'm being beamed up by what's going on? Wait a minute here. So he's going to be a little confused. And the alien's just like, hey, what's going on? So here I've got the Y35. I think that's a honey of some sort. I'm not sure what the name of that marker is, but I just wanted to lay down some yellow for when I use a jelly roll pen. So here I've got some C5, C3, and C1, and I find that once I get that down for that little bar there, I didn't really like it, so I end up going in with a darker C7 to kind of give it a little bit more depth, and I think I liked how that turned out. I don't have any of the really, really dark C colors, which it's on my list to get. I do find that I like the gray, the cool tone grays, as I've probably said before in another video. So here's where I come in with that C7, just to kind of darken that up, because it was looking a little bland. And when I go into the next spaceship with the warm grays to kind of give it a different look, I do use the the W7 for this one. Lesson learned. So I'm just repeating the same process here as I did with the cool grays, just with the simple shading going on here. These objects were a little bit bigger to color in, so they weren't too bad. But I'm doing two different colors in the cards, so I kind of wanted to switch up the color of the spaceship. So perhaps the sea-colored spaceship is the newer, fancier model with all the souped-up gear, and the warm gray one's probably the late 90s model that's just starting to rust. So here I've got this V20 to kind of give the glass of the spaceship a little depth. And I'm going to color in the aliens in some green, so I've got some G14 and some G12 for the newer model spaceship. And then I've got some YG41 and YG11 for the older model. I didn't really notice much of the difference with these two colors, but I'm just kind of taking what it is. Here I've got a Glaze Pen in black. I'm just kind of gonna go over their eyes and give them a little dimension there. And same with the cow. Sorry, it's a little off screen here, but you get the idea. And here I've got this yellow Glaze Pen where I colored in with the yellow alcohol marker to kind of give it a base. I'm just kind of tapping with this pen because if you depress the little ball in it, it'll seep out a little bit better. So here I've got these mama elephant combo circles that look kind of like gears, and I've cut them out twice. And then in the black I've taken this Starry Sky die from Lawn Fawn and cut out a bunch of stars, and now I just want to prop that up with some foam tape so I could put it up on those holographic bits you see above in gold and silver. I couldn't decide which color I wanted to use for this card, so I decided to do two. So you get a two for today. Anyway, here I'm going to throw down a little bit of glue on the foam tape to prevent any oops that I might make in case of laying it down incorrectly. You don't have to do this step, but I like to do it just in case, because sometimes I make an oops and I don't have any more paper of the same kind, and it's kind of a kick in the teeth. So, better safe than sorry, right? But I got this paper from the dollar store not too long ago, and I thought I'd use some of it, and, as I couldn't decide, I like the gold and I like the silver. Which one do you like best? So, once I've got that down, I'm just going to show you how cool these look. Here's another dollar store find. I like it so much I cut out the centers and I'm going to put them to the side. I'm going to save those bits for another project. Where I cut them out, it's going to be covered anyway, and you're not going to notice any difference in the layout of the card, but I didn't have much of this paper left, and I wanted to save little remnants of it, and I'll use those in a different card later in the future. So now that I've got all the double-sided tape stuck down to that, I am going to flip this over onto my card base, but first I've got to put down a little bit of a security blanket and add a bunch of glue. Hindsight, I probably put a little too much glue, as it kind of seeped a little, made my cardstock warped. So I probably could have just put down another piece of paper between this and the cardstock, but lesson learned. So I'm just going to hold that down and pat it down and get the idea of what it's going to look like. So now that I've got two done, I am going to put those aside, and I am going to put double-sided tape on the backs of these ones also. And that'll create the base for my scene. So once we got that down, we'll put a little more glue down, and we're going to use the Make Art Station to line everything up. I want to make sure that I leave the little space at the bottom. I'm going to use the other one kind of as an eyeball. And press that down. Oh, I can adjust just a smidge. There we go. Look at how cool that is. So now I'm ready to set my scene. So now I've got the spaceship and the little beam of light with the cow, and I just want to gloop the ends of it together. I want to create a nice long beam, not a short one. I want to give the cow some time to realize what's going on in the picture here. I don't think he's going to be too pleased, but maybe the alien thinks he's having burgers tonight. While I'm waiting for those guys to dry, I've got a Stardust Sakura Pen in clear, and I'm just kind of dotting all over the place to kind of give it more of a galaxy look, like it's a nighttime alien abduction. And I need these bits more sturdier, so I'm going in with a little bit of craft cardstock that I had lying extra on my desk, and just kind of creating a base on the back of it to give it a little more stability. And I don't want it to show out the front, so I had to trim it down a little bit here. So once I've got that done, I am going to take these little springy things now. Recollections has them. Well, Michaels has them, Recollections brand. They're called, let me see my notes here. They're called mini craft springs, and that's 1/2 inch by 0.75 inches. And I've heard them called action wobblers, and a couple of other words I can't remember, but it took me a minute to find where these were or how to find them, and I was actually lucky to find them at Michael's. So you want to make sure, though, when you use these, you kind of want to get them in the center, because they don't sit right if you don't get them centered. They kind of lean to one side, and that's what I'm doing here. So I should have put the glue on. I tore the paper a little bit, but you won't see it. So putting a little bit of glue on the both sides of the little action wobbler or mini craft spring, whatever you want to call it. I like action wobbler better. It sounds like a action film. Well, this could be an action film, like Attack from Mars, or I think that's the name of the movie. When Mars Attacks. That was a great movie. But this isn't Mars Attacks. This is just an alien abducting his dinner. So I've got that out of the way. I need my sentiment. I've already stamped it out once, and I've got this Craft Smart pigment ink. It's not the greatest. I need to invest in a good white pigment ink, but I haven't gotten there yet because there's so many other things that I want to try. But I do have some clear embossing powder by Wow, and it's got a little bit of a sparkle to it, so I thought that would be kind of fun to put on top of the white. So I'm just dumping that back in and tapping it off. I'm not worried about the anti-static powder because it's clear, and a little bit of sparkle's not going to hurt. So I'm just going to heat up the back real quick, kind of give it a chance to melt and not warp my paper so much. And this is where the magic happens. My favorite part. I know I say this every time. It never gets old. So I'm just trimming this down, and I recently found a tip. I can't remember who it was that said this, but if you've got a short, stubby piece of paper that you need to cut with your trimmer, and you can't get your fingers in there to do it, tape it to another piece of paper. The good thing about this Fisker cutter is that it's got like this little metal line so you could guide yourself on it. Here I got some leftover scraps from the holographic paper I thought I'd use as like a little border around the black to kind of offset it from the black background, and I want to make sure that I got a thick enough but not too thick strip of foam tape. I'm going to cut that down to size, and I'll do the same for the other one. So once I got that down, I'm going to come back in with a black Sharpie marker around those edges because I don't have any black foam tape. That's like a luxury item that I haven't really been able to afford yet. So I just make do with a black magic marker. It seems to do the trick. So once I've gone around both of those, I'll be all set to go, and you won't really see it off the sides of the card when you turn it. It's handy. I forget who told me this one, but whoever told me to do this, thank you. I appreciate it. It's probably a video I watched. So I'm going to line those up onto both the silver and the gold. so I can get myself a banner going. Now the good thing about this holographic stuff is that it's got lines in it. If you look closely without going cross-eyed, you can kind of see the lines, and they're not too hard to cut. You just can't go cross-eyed doing it, which I may have done that with the silver because sometimes it's a little hard to see. So, but if you got a big enough pair of scissors, it's pretty easy to cut. It's not too thick. I want to say maybe it's 65, 85 pound cardstock with this holographic stuff. It's not too flimsy either, which is nice. It's got a little bit of stability to it. So once I'm happy with cutting that down, I'll fuss over that, and then I'm going to put some double-sided tapes on the backs of them. I'm not going to prop them up with more foam. I don't want it too dimensional. I mean, the spaceship and the foam tape and stuff it's dimension enough. I want this to be subtle because I thought the sentiment was hilarious to put for this scene. Poor cows being abducted by an alien, and all I could think of is, it's a special day. This card cracks me up. This is probably why I had to make 2 of them, just because it's silly. Just so silly. And there you have it. What a silly little card. So silly, I made 2 of them. I left the insides blank because I couldn't think of anything clever to go on the inside. I think the front is enough. If you've enjoyed today's content, or found it inspiring, please give this video a like. I also welcome you to subscribe, as I post weekly. Here's another video I think you might enjoy. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Take care.